What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another week of Fourth and Go Philly 4 for 4. So much more. Thursday night edition. I was traveling this week, but we got together, break it all down, talk Eagles, talk Sixers, talk some Bills, Flyers, maybe even some other little things here that we always get to throughout the show. I'm Dave Gleckner at DGleck on Twitter, and here's my man, co-host Mark Tomasini.
What up? What up? It's another well, I don't even know what you call today, but it's terrific.
Thirsty.
Thursday. We're thirsty Thursday, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, things are looking good right now for the most part, but there's definitely some interesting tidbits that we have to get into too. So there's a whole plethora of ways we can go about this, but you kick
Let's
it
get
off,
right
sir.
into it. Yeah, let's start with the birds, and obviously the chatter right now is all things that probably aren't necessarily on the field, a little bit off with the talk coming from Micah Parsons over in Dallas and how the Eagles are responding to it. But before we get into all that, let's just talk about pure domination. And that's
Yes.
what happened up at the Meadowlands this week. I mean, I think I had them around 7 to 10 point, but they even blew that out the window. Win by 20-6. Cover the spread easily, 48-22. In probably one of the more enjoying games of the season so far. I've had to hear this. The Giants are for real. Brian Daboll is this and that. I don't have to hear it anymore, and that feels pretty good knowing that the Eagles have kind of crushed that team's hopes. And they did it in a way that was just so dominating, just so impressive that I just had smiles on my face all day, to the point that I probably didn't even watch much of the half of the fourth quarter there, just when Miles Sanders put that icing on the cake.
Yeah, it was definitely just you never really were on your heels type of game. It was nice, and now like they can say, who have you beaten? I mean, I know we've beaten the Cowboys and such, but like, even though we realize the Giants aren't as good as they started out the season, still nice to take it to them, and you can put that up there. Now that's another 7-win team, 14 weeks through the season, so winning at least half their games. You can put that up there. The Giants, the Titans, the Cowboys, the Vikings, like they have legitimate wins, and the way that they did it, I mean, it wasn't even really a game, and it just feels good. And it's funny, you look at the stat line of Jalen Hurts, because now it seems like he's the odds-on favorite to win MVP, and people will look at the stats line and see that he only threw for 217 yards, but he had a great passing game.
Right.
He just did everything he had to do, and there were a couple of drops there, like AJ dropped the ball. I think it ended up being a penalty, but he ended up dropping a ball that, I mean, was too perfect almost.
Mm-hmm.
So you look at things like that, and it just makes you feel good about the direction that this team is heading. Like, because and we're going to talk about the distractions and the things that are coming along, and as this team keeps chugging along, but it just almost seems like they're getting better as the season goes on. And this is what we want to see right now. You didn't think it was possible, but here it is.
Yep. Yeah, no doubt about it. It's just, we talked about the week before where they ran for 360 against the Packers, and then go against the Titans and pass for 360. And then this game was a blend of both. And it was just beautiful to just see how and not only just dominate there. I know the Giants ended up with 22, and it was a lot garbage because our blocked punt, which, special teams does concern me, but that gave them a freebie. And then after that, they just scored some late garbage. But the defense was dominating. Daniel Jones was shut down, but the sack machine they are. And last year being one of the worst teams at creating pressure and sacking the quarterback, now they're one of the best teams. That's been probably the biggest improvement that, I've seen in Gannon's defense. Even though I still have my quibbles about him, he has found ways to rush the quarterback. And I think that was on show on Sunday, which was great. I mean, you had Sweat, you had a Reddick, you had a lot of guys getting in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, funny thing is, I don't know like if this is actually, but I saw it on the Eagles video that they posted, but Reddick, this is his third season in a row with 10 plus sacks. And it's funny, they're all with different teams, going from Arizona to Carolina. I think it was Arizona to Carolina to here, if I'm not mistaken.
It is.
And so he's at 10 now. He might be the first guy in NFL history to have back 10 plus sacks, but I could be wrong. But I thought They were saying that, or maybe in Eagles history, something along those lines. I'll have to go back and check that stat. But they were saying it's something that hasn't been done before. With that being said, I remember my biggest thing that I was worried about going into that game was Daniel Jones scrambling and Saquon running wild. And it just seemed like the defensive line just took care of business all day. I mean, they show you Brandon Graham on 29 snaps had 3 sacks. Yeah. I mean, it really is like, I'm surprised. Like, the Eagles have always been known to rotate their defensive line, but it just seems like, the Jordan Davis injury, you don't wish it, but it almost was a blessing for this team because then they were forced to go out and get reinforcements. And now they're able to rotate so many guys in that everybody is fresh. I'm telling you, we're seeing a better Fletcher Cox. We're seeing a Brandon Graham who is much older in his career playing well. Free agent addition Hassan Reddick, who started off the season slow, is already at 10 or 11 sacks this year. Like, it's only getting better from here. We're seeing the potential of Sweat. I mean, between Hargrave, Graham, Sweat, and Reddick, they have at least 8 sacks each. And that's ridiculous, especially with how much time they spend rotating.
Yeah, it's nice. And a lot of that is a byproduct of what teams have to do against the Eagles.
Sure.
And unless you're fully patient, like, the Commanders showed they could be that one game, for the most part, teams drop back a lot.
Yeah.
And we're able to really pay off with that. And, it's beautiful. It's beautiful to watch because all we want here in Philadelphia is an attacking defense. Yes. That's it. I mean, we'll get beat here and there, but give us some edge and some attack. And I think this team definitely is. I ask you this. Does that strike the end of the Giants to you? I know they got the Commanders coming up. They still have us on the schedule at the end of the year. I didn't see a lot of life in that team.
No, they did look like a completely broken team pretty quickly in that game.
Yep.
I think, and the thing is, Saquon was going into the game hurt. He has that neck issue.
Yeah.
That was bothering him. And, sometimes it does, take a toll on you as a runner, things you can do and can't do. And I really think they probably were using him more as a decoy because maybe, if they weren't as, I guess, close as they were, they probably would have sat him out of that game. And like I said, Saquon would have set up the scrambling for Jones, and then that could have set up the passing game. Because Saquon was not an option, the running game's not an option, they were able to just dominate the line completely because there were no other options. They gave them no chance. And they also took the game over pretty quickly too. So, like we said, what do you want the Giants to do? Throw the ball. Why? Because Daniel Jones is throwing it, and they don't really have any talent on the outside.
I had a little house party, a couple of guys that came over who are Giants fans, and they keep getting on me at 1.1 because I keep telling them, I've told him since day one that guy stinks. But the one thing he was like, how come you're easy on Trevor Lawrence and not on Daniel Jones? I said, are you serious? This guy, won the national championship, #1 pick.
Yeah.
I still see a little bit of arm talent there. I see nothing in Daniel Jones. And the fact of the matter is they're going to be stuck with him. They're gonna be stuck with him, and they're probably gonna have to give him, I think, at a minimum, the franchise tag.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the way to go. You don't want to completely, attach your ship to him. You kind of do the Dak move, but without actually paying him, and you hope that. Honestly, they're in a weird spot because they've won too many games to be a factor for any of these top. I thought they were going to be top tier, and they were going to be top 3, top 5 pick to where they're looking at CJ Stroud, Bryce Young.
Not now.
They're not.
No, and they're not. Even if they lose out and go 7-10, which I think they'll find a win somewhere, it's still nowhere in the Stroud range. No. It's nowhere in the Bryce Young range.
No.
Now I'm seeing Will Levis up there too, but it's still, I don't think they're in that range either. So they're stuck in this little hole, I'll call it. And I don't see them getting out anytime soon. They got a big game this weekend. They'll probably lose that one. Maybe they get out of there. But if they don't, they're in very big danger of missing the playoffs. At 7-5-1, they're looking at Vikings, Colts, Eagles after that.
Yeah.
He lost, and finished here 7-8-1 or 7-9-1.
And the thing is, after that tie to Washington, for them to be flexed into that game, it's awful.
I know.
That's that. I mean, probably good for us. I think we're good with the Sunday afternoon for the next couple. Well, I mean, obviously we got Christmas Eve next week, but
I don't think they can touch that game, right?
But no, they can't.
Yeah.
No. I mean, that's to me, that's a prime time-ish game.
But they're playing no games at 8:00 that night, I think.
Right.
Well, they are playing one. Oh, Raiders, Steelers. How did you not fix out that?
I didn't know. That's the thing. But even regardless of that, to me, that is a primetime game.
Yeah.
Christmas Eve, 4:25.
Yeah, totally.
That's a bigger deal than the 8:00 game. I mean, regardless.
I think so. Yeah, because
it's the game of the week. It is absolutely the game of the week.
People aren't going to want to stay up. Well, I mean, they might, but they might not.
You know, parents with kids and
they want to get to sleep.
Day.
Yeah. So
you have your Christmas Eve party. People are crowded around the TV. It's going to be great.
Yeah, but let's get into that. And the noise started already. Micah Parsons on. Was it the Von
Miller podcast?
Which seems all odd to me. Like, if I had a team and a guy was still playing, I probably wouldn't have him do a podcast. I mean, if you want to be a guest, but I wouldn't have him host one. I feel like.
Well, I mean, I don't. So I never heard of it until this week. So I'm wondering if it has to do with his ACL injury that has him out for the rest of the year, and maybe they're just like, yeah, you can do that. I mean, they can't tell him what to do and what not to do, but it wouldn't be in my best interest to be doing your own podcast like during the season while you're playing, but he's out.
Yeah, I just feel like
that's my thought.
Yeah, I feel like it's risky just from a standpoint of like it just brings a lot of smoke. And I don't need smoke in the football season. You can do it after, but not in.
Well, I gotta say, you know what? I kind of am a hypocrite. I gotta reel it back in a little bit.
Okay.
Jason and Travis Kelce, their New Heights podcast.
Yeah.
Pretty good. And they do bring on Jalen and they brought on Pat Mahomes. Like, so I actually am okay with it. But I do think just the whole general conception of players doing podcasts like that during the year, it is interesting. I mean, I know we have to treat them as human beings, which they are.
Yeah.
It is an interesting standpoint, though, because it's almost like they're talking shop. Like,
well, that's it. Like
giving things away. It's just weird, but that's the day and age that we're in now. Like, it's.
Yeah, I'm okay. Like being a guest, like I said, and as a host, I just think it's odd right now. But when you put Kelsey's together, it's a little different because you have like this storytelling that's more than just interviewing. But anyway, what it does is it just puts bulletin board material.
Yeah.
And what Micah said, it wasn't too strong. It wasn't too out there, but he just questioned, is it more hurt to the team? I think it's, to be honest, anybody could have said that. Nobody would have got mad. Yeah. But the fact that he's the best player on the team that's the closest in the standings, they take it a little too far. And I don't blame them. And now here we are. And he put bulletin board material out there. And I heard from a couple different people and a couple different opinions. Dan Orlovsky today said, hey, this is terrible for them. The Eagles are just going to run it down the throat. Stephen A. came and said, yeah, but you know when they're going to do it is in the playoffs. Either way, they're going to remember, and it's going to be there.
Yeah. I mean, what I like about it is that, one, it heats up the rivalry, which not that they need it, but you want it. You know, you want that edge going into it. I definitely want to see that. And the way the Eagles responded, I think is perfect. Jalen Hurts paid it no mind. And that's how you got to do it. Go on the Chicago, let Dallas talk the talk, right? And see if they can walk the walk. Don't stoop down to their level. It's funny. I heard a thing where Trayvon Diggs was mad last week about an interception that he should have gotten credit for an interception because he tipped the ball.
Yeah.
And it's like he's worried about his stats, but like you see somebody like Miles Sanders talk about, they're like, what's more important, the fact that you're at 1,000 yards rushing this year or that you got 10 touchdowns? Super Bowls. He's like, that's all that matters. Like winning. Like, you know what I mean? And whether you want to say it's corny or cliche, at least he doesn't have to feel like he has to justify his stats. He wants to win. I mean, that is the ultimate prize. Yep. And now, don't get me wrong, he's got to be loving it on the inside because either he's going to get paid by the Eagles or he's going to get paid by somebody else as a free agent. So obviously it's a good thing. So he could just say like, yeah, I'm happy, but go out there and try and win, make yourself look better for when free agency comes around, or if the Eagles decide to re-up your contract, it's.
Well, what'd you think about, like, overall with the comments?
Yeah.
I guess my question, revolves around, you said you live in, there's other people that have these angles, and I get it, but in the end, does it really change things that much? Because the Eagles are just like, I'm on to next week. I'm on or to the Bears.
Right. Like Jordan Mailata is saying, like, we're not playing the Chicago Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. So what was your question again?
Well, I guess does it really, like, 2 weeks out? Like if it was like this week and we're about to play them, okay. But 2 weeks out, you really do have to focus on this next opponent. Does it really? I feel like that thing will just like burn slowly, and I think it almost dies a little bit by next week.
It may, but also a couple people might spark it back up again. You find journalists who will just like ask the question, bear repeating. It's going to happen in both cities. Dallas is, they're going to say, Micah, the Eagles did this on Sunday against the Bears. You still feeling that way? Around here, you're going to see, who's going to be I'm trying to think of who would actually be the one to say it, but somebody's going to say something along the lines of like, all right, you're going to stick it to him. I had something else that I felt that I know is going to be asked when it comes back. Like, are you going to do anything to shove it down their throats? Like,
but don't you think, like, by the time the questions start getting asked, he's going to be coached up by McCarthy and Jones and everyone else to just say, Chandler's a great player. He's going to be one of the MVPs. He's a front runner for MVP. He'll bring it back. He'll bring it back down.
I don't think so. I don't think Mike McCarthy has that cachet to do that with that team.
Yeah.
And again, I still don't think that Parsons did anything wrong. He made an opinion. He doesn't have to champion Jalen Hurts or the Eagles. I mean, it's not like he said they suck, they're a terrible team. He said they're a good team. He said, I think it's the team is complete. That's why he's doing so good.
No, I hear you. I just think
get the fake anger around here, like it's.
But what it does is it does, highlight the point and make us all remember who we hate the most, and it is the Dallas Cowboys, and we're going there on Christmas Eve to really set a tone. That's how I look at that game. Get out this week, go and set that tone. So it's important, obviously what they do, but in the end, go, just run it in. Don't go slow. Oh, you asshole.
You got money on this?
Yeah, I mean, I have Seattle, but I put money on Jordan Mason to score a touchdown.
No, you better
and
get
he died at the one.
It was like the one.
It was plus like 500. So that would have been nice. That would offset the bet. Oh man, yeah, they're not gonna. Now he went out of bounds. Do they get tricky here and hand it right back to him? I doubt it. Like if I'm Seattle, why am I tackling him? Like, to be honest with you, why are you tackling him? Right. They just kneel it now. So they won't hand it back. But that was stupid by Seattle.
Yeah.
Yeah, kneel. Yeah. Oh well. That would have been nice. But definitely was a close one there. That would have been fun. But so let's look at the Bears this week. And
yes,
Bears,
where we should be.
Yeah, where it should be, like Mailata said, like Hurts said. But really, the Bears are, interesting team from the standpoint of they're really coached this quarterback that they got in Justin Fields to be exposed a little more than people would probably like in the traditional sense. But they realized what they had in him, and he brings this dynamic aspect with his legs. And they're not really out of any game a lot of times because of how well He plays and can keep you in the game with that RPO. So I'm looking at this one with Dallas on tap. Not in the traditional sense it's a trap game, but I do respect it as a game that I think is going to be harder than probably we think based upon the last three output. Well, last two for sure, winning both games by over 24 points. So I think this one could give us a little bit more of a scare than we want. And I think the Bears will play long for a little while.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have to. I think they have to, really fight for it, bless you.
Thank you.
And I think, it's they can't just lay down and die at this point. It's gonna be Chicago. It's December. It's windy. I'm trying to look and see. Sunday, a high of 26. So it's gonna be cold.
Yeah.
Eagles haven't played in that real cold weather yet. We played in some rain, but this is gonna be, gritty, Soldier Field, Chicago. I don't think they're gonna be able to just throw the ball all around. If they do, great. I think they'll be able to take Chicago out of it early. But yeah, I definitely think it's a tough game. It poses itself because it does have trap game or look past game written all over it. So I do agree with you on that point. And Chicago's going to give it their all. And just like that, and that's the thing with the Eagles being, only having one loss, everybody's trying to knock you down, take you down. So you're going to get their best effort. You're absolutely going to get their best effort. But Chicago is not that well-rounded of a team. So I think the Eagles might struggle a little bit at first, but I think it's a 10-point win, like looking at it wise, like from a standpoint where they're able to pull away, but it's not going to feel as good as Tennessee or New York.
Yeah. So Chicago's pretty bad defensively against the pass and against the rush. So I think it'll be interesting. You already talked about the weather. The Eagles can really go into this one and choose their weapon. I think it's to the point that I think they can find a way to really bully this team on both, either however they want to. And I think they're going to choose more the rush aspect and really just try and, dominate the line of scrimmage and try and drag this one out. It won't be one of those, they scored 35 against Tennessee. They scored 48 against the Giants. What was it? Green Bay was in the 40s too, right?
Yeah.
So it's just
40-33.
Yeah. So I think we might get back to maybe not quite the Colts game.
Right.
But I think we're going to see us kind of settle in the 20s and be very comfortable playing with distance, playing with separation. That's where I think they'll be.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I just think, with the fact that they have three runners that they can use, I think we're going to see a lot of rotation balance. I really think, I don't think it's going to be straight up a Miles Sanders game. I think it's going to be a nice mix of all three.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. So looking at your prediction this week, what do you got?
I have this game, I would say 27-17 Eagles. Eagles are able to go in there, take care of business. Doesn't feel good. They run the ball. Like I said, they rotate the backs, but I still like a 10-point win here in Chicago.
Yeah, I'd like it. I think 10 sounds like a pretty good number. I'll get close. I'll say they get something a little funky here, and they'll go 26-14.
Okay.
Yeah, something in within range of where you're at. I like the 27-17 a lot. Yeah, Eagles convincingly, Eagles with distance. And
convincingly for the situation, I think.
Yeah, we're just going to enjoy this one. We're not going to get, just take our dub and move on to the big Christmas Eve game. So talking about big, I say we get into our NFL 3-packs here real quick, Mark. We're doing pretty well. What'd you hit last week?
Oh,
no.
Speak for yourself, man. Tonight, I go from 3-0 to 1-2, and it was not my week.
Okay, yeah, I'm trying. I was 2-1, which is just steady for the course, and I think I'm happy with it. I know we had some. We had that big week. Was it the week before we hit 6-0? Yeah, but yeah.
Last week, I know the Jags absolutely throttled the Titans, which I did not see coming at all. I did get almost an outright win with the Texans and the Cowboys, but which would have been a huge win for the
That
Eagles.
would have
happened, but the
Yep.
Cowboys still won the game. And then the Jets Bills I had minus 9.5, and the Bills won by 8. So it was
and it was
close.
It was a field goal with like a minute left.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the Jets kicked one for no reason, but not really no reason. They had to go onside. So,
but I mean, like it's one of those. I mean, the Jags-Titans game though, I was completely off on that. Titans.
Yeah, I know I had the Lions and the Ravens, and I'm just trying to remember where I landed on but it was 2-1. So let's go into this week. I'll let you lead off. I think we got some. Well, I know we got some Saturday games, 3 Saturday games. We had the night game here tonight, and a 10-game slate. Well, really 11 on Sunday. So where are you dialing in your first one?
I'm dialing in my first one. I'm going back to 2 teams that I bet on in 2 different games, but this is the one game. The Dallas Cowboys travel to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars are 4.5-point underdogs. I'm expecting the Jaguars to give it their all at home, keep the momentum rolling with the way that they beat Tennessee. I'm more hopeful than actually thinking that was that this happens, but I can see this, the Jags losing by 3 to the Cowboys if we're seeing the same Cowboys team that played against the Texans last week. Now, the Texans play teams hard, and we saw that, and that number was way too big last week. I know, obviously, this number is a lot more considerate, but I'm going to take the Jags at home in a hope that they can beat the Cowboys and make life just a little bit easier for the Eagles, but it's not like they need it, but it would be nice.
Okay, I like it. I'm going to move to a game where there is a new sheriff in town, and that is the Atlanta Falcons and Desmond Ridder taking over from Marcus Mariota. And I just think there's been a lot of things missing out of the Atlanta offense, and it's been due to Mariota. Early in the year, okay, he showed you a little bit, but he just lacks the downfield throwing. And I think Ritter's going to throw a new wrinkle into his team. They're coming in as 4-point dogs to a team that is just not very good in the New Orleans Saints. And I think I like the Falcons this week. Give me the 4, and I think there's decent potential for outright. Listen, Atlanta's still playing for something at 5-8. New Orleans not really at 4-9. And this isn't the Eagles homer hoping for a Saints loss. This is really thinking that I think Atlanta can do this one. So I'll take Atlanta Falcons plus the 4.5 you'll see in some markets. And Desmond Ridder to Drake London, I think will be a nice little connection this week.
I definitely think that they've waited too long to delve into that bag. Maybe they just felt he wasn't ready, but I think they waited too long because you're not getting anything out of Mariota. And I don't understand what New Orleans is doing because besides the fact that they don't have that pick, what are you rolling out, Andy Dalton still for over Jameis? I really don't get it either way. I mean, the team looks awful, absolutely awful. They just can't get it together. The next game we're going to go to the Meadowlands. Lions at the Jets. Lions plus 1.5 at the New York Jets. I think the Jets aren't able to, I know they have the Mike White story, and I think the Lions they have a chance to be there because they're at 6-7 right now. They still technically have a chance to make the playoffs. That NFC, the bottom of the NFC is playoff picture is wild right now, and the Lions just have a lot of offense. And I know the Jets have a very good defense, but giving the Lions points, because I think the Lions, they really try and get you to play into a shootout, and I think that's where they feel comfortable, which I'm surprised about. I thought that they were going to be more of a defensive juggernaut, but they're an offensive juggernaut, which is really surprising. And they probably are better than their record shows that they are. Like, I mean, we've seen them. They play everybody tough, played us tough. They almost beat us on, opening week. So I like the the Lions at the Jets.
Interesting. Like I'm torn in that game.
Yeah, it's literally a coin flip.
Yeah, and we're at the point where, can they keep this going? Maybe, but can the Jets really get out of they lost the last few games. Mike White going to play. It's a really interesting game. I can't wait to see that one. So I don't really have a side, but
it's tough.
The hotter team, the better team right now, the guy that's biting kneecaps is definitely Dan Campbell. So I'm with you there. That they are somebody that's showing something. They have what? think they're 5-1. Their one loss is the Thanksgiving game. They could have
Yeah.
won. So, all right,
They almost won that one.
Yeah, oh, definitely. All right, the other one, I was staring at, and I'm gonna go this way. I'm gonna take the Baltimore Ravens on Saturday, getting 3 at Cleveland. Deshaun just hasn't shown us anything yet. And while I realize that Lamar Jackson is out, they play different brand of football when he's out. One that can be physically, dominating. And the Browns just don't do very well at stopping the run. They got Gus Edwards healthy. They got J.K. Dobbins healthy. It looks like Huntley's going to be okay to play. He practiced today. So they could really have a 3-headed running situation here and try and dominate this game on the ground and play one of those low-scoring games like they did last week in Pittsburgh when they won 16-14, get back to the defensive way. So give me the Ravens. I mean, they got to keep up with the Bengals. That division, they're both 9-4. I'll take the Ravens +3 at the Browns.
The Ravens are a very quiet 9-4 because I didn't even realize that they were 9-4. They don't feel like it doesn't feel like a really good Ravens team. I mean, you look at the way that they blew that game to the Giants earlier in the season,
the Dolphins. They were up 17 in the fourth quarter of the Dolphins. Yeah. And the Bills, they're up 10 or 14 to the Bills. They blew a lot of games.
They're a very quiet team that's hanging in there. I think they should take care of the Browns. The Browns are just a mess. Yeah. This whole Deshaun thing is a mess. It's just, they're going to have to regroup and hope that they can figure it out next year for themselves, for their sake. So I like that pick. For my last and final pick of the week, I'm going big game. Got to go big spreads. I'm still rolling with it. I'm going for it again. The Texans at home, +14. Kansas City Chiefs. There's a lot of talk about the Hurts versus Mahomes. Look, the Texans play teams hard. Just like I said earlier, they play teams hard. And I think you're going to see a similar type of outcome. I think that not as into they're going to almost win the game, but I just think the Texans keep it within 2 touchdowns, simply put.
Yeah, it's tough with the Chiefs. They just have so many big spreads, so I don't hate that pick at all. I think that's a good pick. And then I'm going to close mine out, and I'm going to go with the Tennessee Titans +3 against the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers, they won a few lately. I get it. They beat the Dolphins, but they're just still a team I can't trust with my money.
You can't.
And Vrabel, they got it wrong last week. I was with you. I like Tennessee against Jacksonville as well. It didn't hit home, but, he'll get this right. The 28th ranked run defense in the league, it's Derrick Henry, and on third down, Derrick Henry. So they're smart enough. I think they're going to find a way to adjust what they've been doing wrong. And who do I trust in a close game? It's Vrabel, and it's not Staley. So I'll take the points, and I'll take Tennessee.
Yeah, I like that. I looked at that game too. That was almost that almost made their way into my 3 packs. I agree. You can't trust LA.
No,
you really can't.
Not with that coach.
It's a shame. It's a shame because they're wasting talent.
They are. They really are. They have a lot of talent on that team.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's go over to the hardwood and talk some Philadelphia 76ers. Mark, I'm going to tell you a sad story real fast here. My kids are, into it, and they really want to see Steph Curry. So Tuesday comes around, and I say, you know what? I want to buy them tickets. Should I wait till game day? No, they're just going to keep going up. And so I buy them. Listen, I didn't spend anything too crazy, but but still, and they might not even go down as much as I think they would. Maybe I would have saved a couple bucks, but the more sad part is they don't get to see Steph Curry. He's out for at least 2 weeks now. Then we'll be reevaluated that with that lat shoulder strain. But I'm still going. We're still going to see a good game. I'm pumped up. Embiid's coming off what? 53? No, that was over the weekend.
That was Sunday, I think it was, or Saturday or Sunday. No.
Harden had the big game on Tuesday against the Kings. So, but I'm excited for it. I'm excited for, I think I've come around and I just said the only way these Sixers are going to win is for Embiid to go out and lead the league in scoring.
Yeah.
And I think that's just going to be the way. I put a few bucks on him at 15-1 to win the MVP after I decided that. And now he's leading the league in scoring. He's got to, I think, qualify. I think he's a game or two behind. But they're just going to have to feed the guy the ball because when Maxey comes back, I'm sure that will change things. But the shooting's just not there as it was anticipated.
No, it's not. It's tough. I mean, you saw a little bounce back from Harden. Like you said, he had a good all-around game. I think maybe his shooting will come back a little bit. I mean, you're again, probably not going to get Houston Harden, but Embiid's put the team on his back. But, that's a good thing and it's a bad thing at the same time because we know that sometimes he's not fully there and if he's checked out. But the other night, they just absolutely took care of business. I turned it on early in the first. Sixers were up maybe like 16-15. And then from there, it became a boat race. And they just went up quick, fast, furious. They scored 80 points in the first half. And the Kings are a decent team, but what they don't have is a true center presence to take on Embiid.
Right.
He got them all in foul trouble so quick.
Yep.
I mean, they literally they went from Sabonis to I forget he's a foreigner, Queta or something like that. He was like number 88, and then they went to Trey Lyles, and then I think they went to a fourth, and then they went back to Sabonis. I mean, all of them had 2-3 fouls within 5 minutes of guarding. Like Embiid was just able to dominate, and he was just playing bully ball down there because none of them had an answer for him. They don't have a true center presence. But the thing is, like, you have good players with Malik Monk and De'Aaron Fox, who was one of my favorites, somebody that I wanted over here, but they weren't hitting shots. They weren't falling. So it was a mix of both. Embiid was just having his way, and, they weren't hitting shots.
No, that's very true. But it was good. Another, what's that? 3 in a row. They're cooking at right now. They get a 7-game homestand coming up. They're in the middle of with the Lakers win the other last Friday, being one of those. Was that their first game back?
I believe so.
No, and then they had the Hornets over the weekend, and then the Kings. So 3 in a row in this 7-game homestand.
And remember, what is funny. But it does kind of stink at the same time, too, because I remember we talked about this last week, and we talked about Doc throwing out there the scheduled loss. Oh. You know what he said going into this 7-game homestand? He wasn't expecting to win 7 games. Like, he's an idiot. I'm sorry. Like, I know they're playing great, but I think they're probably playing great in spite of him at this point.
Oh, it's bad.
But the thing is, his job is safe right now, and that's why I said it's going to be a little bit of time before we see – if we were to see something happen, because they're playing well in spite of him.
No, and him talking about, that choke in the Lakers game. I wrote 2 words on my Twitter. I said, fire Doc. I mean, to lose a 9-point lead with 20 seconds left. Yeah. All you have to do is pass it in and just hold it. Do nothing else with it. And he can't just figure that out. No. He's bad, man. And
no, they got lucky that pretty much the Lakers scored 2 points in overtime. I mean, they dominated in overtime, but it got way too close. I mean, that's unreal.
It's bad. But, the formula's there, and they can still rebound. I watched Milwaukee tonight lose by 42 in Memphis. There's no real – I mean, Boston had a little kind of like faltering out west. Got beat really bad by Phoenix, lost to the Clippers pretty bad. Won recently against the Lakers, but in the end, like, they're the best. And after that, probably got about 4 solid teams there, and the Sixers can actually lay claim to that. What I wanted to bring up to you is I saw a note today on Twitter somewhere that Embiid got an interview. Did you catch this?
Oh, I definitely won.
All right, let's go then. So he is he thinks, and this is the temperamental babyish point that drives me up a wall about this guy. He's lazy. We've seen that earlier in his career with his conditioning and his Shirley Temples. And when things are going well, he's great. When things are going bad, it's not. And right now, he's turned to a different sour attitude that I didn't see coming for a city that's always supported him. He hears the few. In the fewer years, he thinks people just want to get rid of him and trade him. So it's sad for me to hear him say that. And I think it's just going to do more damage than good.
I think it's a lazy narrative on his part, and I think that there is unfortunately, I don't want to be conspiracy theorist and think this, but I think a lot of us are thinking it. There's a motive to it. If he becomes the villain, just like he said in that one Instagram comment with Jimmy Butler, be here long enough to see yourself become the villain or whatever it is. Like he kind of said, he didn't quote Batman exactly, but he put that out there. He's like, and Jimmy's like, I know where you wouldn't be the villain or something like that, saying come down to Miami.
Yeah.
But he's setting himself up for it. Look, if this doesn't happen in the next year or two, I'm out.
I know.
Like they're gonna have to trade me.
Well, and that just makes it so sad from a standpoint of
because
how do you build this roster around him?
Right.
They did. They brought in every piece that they could. They let Ben go as far as they could. They've had Jimmy and Tobias and now Harden and then they build PJ and all these other people.
I think the Jimmy thing that's the only thing that I feel like is worthy being upset about, because I think that was an organizational failure.
Yeah. Well, it was.
It was an organizational failure, but you can't hang on to that though, because there's two things, because I told you, I've always think that the first 3-4 years, they prioritized Ben Simmons over him.
Yeah.
I really felt they did. So Embiid has somewhat of a right to feel slightly slighted, but at the same time, this city, because he's saying they want to trade me. When he means they, he means the fans. And really, when he means the fans, he means Howard Eskin, because he's the only one that has stood on that platform. And you get some of the radio guys who say, like, well, maybe you got to think about it. Like, think about get as many assets as you can now.
You never win a trade. Like, you're an idiot if you say that. You never win a trade in the NBA. No, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'm just like, you're right. I hear him saying that, but what superstar trade has ever won?
In the NBA, it's never happened.
Yeah, it won't.
Right. But there's always people thinking that, and I get it. Like, you don't want to be, especially a guy with an injury history like his, even though, knock on wood, he's been relatively okay the past couple of years.
Nothing major, like the broken eye.
Right. But that's like not his fault. That's not a, Liz Frank foot injury or a back issue, degenerative knees. Like, it's not that. Anyway, it's still like, you think, you know what, maybe we'll be scorned if we hold on to him too long. It's one of it's like the New England thing. Like, they never held on to anybody too long. And usually everybody who left stunk. I don't think that's the case in this scenario. What they're going to get back from him, I just don't think is going to be enough. I mean, you have Harden here, but the really only other player that is a team that you could try to start and build a team around, which I don't think you can do. You need, really a number one with him is Tyrese Maxey. I mean, I love Maxey as much as the next guy, and I think he'll get better as he gets older. But at the same time, I don't know if he will ever be the pure number one guy on a team.
Yeah, no.
So you get rid of Embiid, now all the pressure's on Maxey, and now you're in a horrible spot.
Yeah, it
doesn't look good for us.
No, it doesn't. But I'm just more nervous for the season now. Like, in the season that we built everything to be the best roster that we've had in quite some time. Like, in this trust the process era, and we're 27 games in. And we're whining about the fans and looking at a way out.
Right. I mean, you think about it, it's plain simple. The PJ Tucker signing, you sign him for 3 years and $30 million.
Oh my God. To average a point.
Right.
Or whatever it is. It might be 3, but
it's tough because that's who he wanted. He wanted that gritty guy. He wanted that, dog. And okay, you got him. And now you're saying that we want to trade you.
I'm at the point that I don't even think PJ Tucker should play more than 10 minutes.
He really should. He should be their spark of energy guy. I mean, the thing is, like I said it last time we talked about him, I do think he plays solid defense. But at the same time, especially there's been sets where they have both Matisse and Tucker on the court together, and it's just no offensive production.
No, give me when Maxi's back, give me Melton because he's like just as good at defense. Give me Melton, Maxi, Harden, Tobias, and Embiid, and I'm good.
Yeah,
I am good. I
can 100% agree with you with that lineup.
And I think your next two off the bench should be Niang and House. And
I don't even know about House. Definitely Niang. I'm trying to think of who else. I mean, House.
Well, I like House better than Tucker. House can at least be a little bit more mobile and take the ball at basket. And then Trez, I guess, is in that mix. But
yeah,
which
I don't really.
But it should be Shake.
Yeah, Shake.
Yeah,
I agree. Shake's still playing well.
I could take him over any of them. But it'll be interesting tomorrow night. We got the Warriors, as I mentioned. I'll be going down there, and I'll be excited either way, and looking for a good game. If anything, it gives us a better chance to win, even though the Warriors aren't playing their best basketball. And then you got the Raptors, Pistons, Clippers to end the homestand, with the Knicks then surfacing on Christmas Day. And those Knicks we got to watch out for. Half game behind us, 15-13, have won, I think, 5 or 6 in a row. So really good stretch here of Sixers basketball to really get a kind of feel of, are they about to turn around, really be a force in the East? And these next 4 games will tell us a lot. I mean, the Raptors are under 500. The Pistons are cooked.
Yeah.
Clippers will be interesting because Kawhi's actually playing now, but it might be a night for them. You never know. He might not play here.
Right.
So, yeah, it'll be good stuff, but a little nervous about the comments, but a little excited that they have started winning again.
Yeah, and winning in dominant fashion. So hopefully they can keep it up and take it to when they play the better teams.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we move on. Just one quick note. The Flyers did get a win tonight, so let's polish off our 4 for 4 here. And guess who they got a win against?
The New Jersey Devils.
And those who are more puckheads than us, even though we follow our hockey, those Devils are damn good this year.
Yeah, I'm shocked.
They're 21-7 now. It looks like, leading the Metropolitan Division. So good win for the Flyers. Still just, it's ugly. They did a healthy scratch the other day of the defenseman Tony D'Angelo, and I never, ever, I swear to you, Boston and Carolina are rolling over in their grave right now that we took on that clown.
Yeah.
We're never going to get any action out of what's his name that we signed 2 years ago, Ryan Ellis. So it's just a year of transition. They started off a little hot, and we were like, okay, maybe. But it's really starting to show itself. Hart's playing great. But it's just a year of weeding out the bad stuff and letting the grass grow.
This is kind of what I thought was going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Figuring out who they can keep, who's got to go.
Yep.
What the team's going to look like. Hopefully moving on from Fletcher. Hopefully before the season ends, just so they can start a process.
Yep.
A real process. Somebody who's going to support Torts and Yeah, and
go
out there and play with some jam.
Yeah, and they will, and they are. I mean, they're just
they are.
They're just not that talented. So really, I mean, what I'm going to look at, and it's where it goes from here, because we're 2 months in the Tortorella project, and we're probably right around where we thought we were going to be. But can they just find some fight and some fire and win games like they did tonight? Yeah. And then looking even more interestingly enough, the one team that trails them in the Metropolitan is the Columbus Blue Jackets, who did make a splash in the offseason. Right. Now where's Johnny sitting?
Yeah, Johnny.
Not too happy.
Yeah.
Coming off the Calgary team that was, one of the tops last year, scored 100 points, I think, and he's now to one of the worst teams of hockey. Oh.
But you know what the Flyers are doing? I think I'm making this one up myself, but they're going hard for Bedard.
Yeah. Well, hockey does that weirdly. They don't. They do the lottery type style like the NBA.
I know that's the thing.
Yeah, but that would be nice because he's supposedly up there with like a Crosby type.
Yeah.
Talent. So
that'd be generational. So.
Well, you know what?
They need it.
Well, the problem is the West has some really clunkers, but in the East, it's just them and Columbus. So
yeah,
it's possible. It's possible. I mean, that would change some things. I mean, there. Wow. Yeah, I just can't even get to how good that could be for a team that's desperate of offense. Because if you look at them, where did they? Last time I looked, where's it at? Do they have it? They were one of the worst scoring teams in hockey. I don't have the stats up now. Oh, here it is. Goals, right? Goals for 74. There's like 3 teams worse.
Yeah.
The Blackhawks, Nashville, and then Arizona's tied with us with like 1 less game. That's it. I mean, that's the biggest problem they're having is they're offensively challenged. So, what you said, man.
They've been offensively challenged for years now.
They have. I agree with you, but like at least I thought they could, spark something. They can't spark shit right now. So,
no.
Yeah. But that about wraps it up for us. A solid power hour here of Philly 4th and Go. 444. Hit them all, plus so much more. Wait, we didn't. You know what? Let's not wrap it up just yet. Let's talk Phillies real fast here. I just want to get, we were here and we talked about Taijuan Walker, and we definitely talked about Trey Turner. Now, there's a couple bullpen arms that have fallen in place since then as well. They got the guy out of Boston.
Mike Strom.
Yeah. And then the lefty they got, I think that he was out of Kansas City. But interesting news out of the rivals. The Braves going back into the trade machine, going back to the A's where they got Olsen last year.
Yeah.
Now they get the catcher, Murphy, which makes it interesting because I thought d'Arnaud was decent and Contreras was good. Now Contreras goes to Milwaukee as part of that. They just haven't done much.
I was surprised to see Contreras go.
I was. I think that's good for Milwaukee, but the Braves haven't done much. And the Mets, on the other hand, they double down on Nimmo. I got it. And then they get the big Japanese pitcher.
Yeah.
With Verlander. So I'll give them this.
They've done a lot for the pitching. They got somebody else too on top. They got Quintana.
Oh yeah, Jose. Yep. And then David Robertson
into 3 pitchers.
Yeah, they can add D-Rob, but the news just broke today. Shortly before our show, the one free agent pitcher that was left out there that was the big one, Carlos Rodon, ends up in New York, but with the pinstripes, and that's good. I think that makes all the sense in the world.
Yes,
I think they were probably one of the last teams left that had some dollars to spend still. They did spend a ton on Judge, but the Dodgers might have been able to make a play, but they took Syndergaard from us. And I thought that was really interesting because I don't see him as a fit at all in that aging rotation too.
No. So, I think they finally realized like they've strapped themselves with the players that they have to now that they just kind of have to make the pitching work.
Well, and they have such a good young farm system. They got to start playing those guys. And I know Lux will get in there now a lot more every day with, Turner gone, Muncy. They can move some things around there, but the pitching really interesting. They did resign.
Yeah.
They gave Kershaw, that re-up, but I mean, Bueller's probably out through middle of the season.
Yeah.
Gonsolin's not going to be the same as what he was this year. That was a fluke. And yeah, we'll see. I mean, Urias is always good, but all I'm saying is if I go back to the NL East talk, I think the Phillies are pretty good where they settled at. I think we're probably not going to see much else. Maybe a dibble-dabble into a bench player, fifth starter, on a low-risk contract, but that's about it.
Yeah, I think another starter in play, whether it's free agency or trade. Though an interesting note, I know it wouldn't happen here, but in the NL East, Max Fried is on the block.
Yeah,
I find that super interesting. I don't know why Atlanta would do that. I think they want to get young pitching back, but I would not trade him if I were Atlanta. But I mean, I'm all for it. But I mean, and I would love him here. It wouldn't happen. I think they would be stupid to trade him in division. Yeah. And also, what would we have to give up? I mean, I'm not giving up Keener or Abel. I mean, maybe McGarity, but yeah,
too much for that guy at that talent and that.
With what we have locked up into our offensive players, we're going to need our young guns to really come up and do the job.
You have to. Especially what you're paying, like you said, like that. You're going to have to get cheap somewhere.
Yeah.
And the only way you get cheap is you use your homegrown talent. So they'll get a little bit of that with Stott, Bomb. It'll get interesting what they end up doing with Reese. I mean, right now it looks like he's staying and we'll figure it out. But, long term, I'm not sure they're going to invest in that long.
No, I mean, he's got his arbitration. I think, what is he looking at? Like 12 to 16 million, I guess.
I heard 17, but yeah, it's 16, 17.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, you also have Marsh under contract for a couple years at a low.
Good point.
He was a good contract. Like, that's the thing. And that's what I really appreciated about Dombrowski, because obviously when you first saw the move for Marsh, you're like, okay, he was looked at as a, elite prospect in LA, and he just didn't pan out hitting wise. But like you saw, he already improved his hitting when he got here. But what Dombrowski did, because they always say Dombrowski just goes in, but like that one was a smart move. He did a couple things in this trade deadline, which showed where his allegiance was. Like, he wants to make sure that this team is good for the future. So he didn't give up his Painters, Abels,
right?
McGarrity's. And he got Marsh knowing he was under team control for like 5 years at a, team friendly deal. And he's a defensive stalwart out there in center field. And his hitting's going to improve with Kevin Long. So, just a move like that, it helps. So like you said, the Stotts, the Bohms, and, Marsh helps. But the rest of the team is pretty expensive.
It is. But those are good points. And listen, you had to pay a little bit. Hop looks like he might be a player. But let's all remember this. JT's here. Hop wasn't playing here. So you had to get something for me. You got a 25-year-old starting center fielder. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm plenty good with it.
Yeah. But all right, man. Now that wraps it up for the show tonight. Good stuff. We'll be back next week as Christmas and the holidays don't fall on during the week, so we'll be able to happily get in the show and preview this huge Eagles-Cowboys game and look forward to another big weekend in the NFL and talk about the Sixers and how they kind of shaped out with these big games coming up with the Raptors and Warriors. But until then, I'm Dave. That's Mark. We are Heat Ratio Sports Network, and we'll be back probably on a regular time. But if not, we'll tweet it out, let you know Wednesday, Thursday. Keep in touch. Until then, have a great week.